Love over money. Anna was a young woman who lived in a small town. She worked in a bookstore, and although she didn't earn much money, she loved her job. Every day, she met people, recommended books, and spent hours surrounded by stories. One afternoon, a well-dressed man entered the shop. His name was Richard. He was rich, confident, and always carried himself with pride. He bought the most expensive books but never smiled or spoke kindly. Soon, another man began visiting the store. His name was David. He was a teacher at the local school. He didn't have much money, but he loved reading and always had warm conversations with Anna. He asked about her day, listened carefully, and laughed with her. Anna's parents wanted her to marry Richard. He is wealthy, they said. You will never have to worry about money. Think of the life you could have. But Anna felt differently. She noticed that Richard only cared about himself. He spoke about his cars, his business, and his money. He never asked about her dreams or feelings. David, on the other hand, cared about little things. He remembered her favorite book. He brought her flowers from the school garden. He didn't have riches, but his heart was kind. One evening, Richard proposed to Anna. He gave her a diamond ring and promised a life of luxury. Anna looked at the ring, but her heart felt heavy. The next day, David also came to see her. He had no ring, no riches, only his words. He said, "Anna, I cannot promise you a palace or gold. But I can promise you honesty, respect, and love every single day." Anna smiled. At that moment, she understood something important. Money can buy comfort, but it cannot buy happiness. She chose David. Her parents were shocked at first, but soon they saw her joy. Anna and David built a small but happy life together. They read books, shared laughter, and faced challenges side by side. In the end, Anna learned that true love is worth more than all the diamonds in the world. Days turned into weeks after Anna made her decision, and although she felt certain that she had chosen wisely, she could not ignore the whispers and curious looks from people in town who could not understand why a young woman would reject a wealthy man like Richard and instead choose a simple schoolteacher like David. One afternoon, Anna's father spoke to her again, his voice filled with concern as he said, "Anna, you had the chance to live a life of ease, with servants, fine clothes, and respect from society, yet you chose a man who cannot even promise you riches. Are you absolutely sure this is the path you want to take?" Anna answered softly but firmly, "Father, I know money can buy many things, but it cannot buy the feeling of being loved. It cannot buy laughter in the evening after a long day. And it cannot buy the comfort of knowing that someone truly cares for me, not for my beauty or my family, but for my heart." Her mother sighed and said, "You speak of love as though it will feed you or pay your bills, but love does not last forever, Anna, and one day you may regret giving up a life of wealth." Anna took her mother's hand gently and replied, "Perhaps love alone cannot feed us, Mother, but love gives us strength to face difficulties together. and I would rather share a simple meal in a small home with David than sit at a golden table with someone who makes me feel lonely." Meanwhile, Richard could not accept rejection so easily. He returned to the bookstore several times, each time trying to remind Anna of what she had lost, saying things like, "Anna, you could have traveled the world with me. You could have worn jewels brighter than the stars. You could have lived in a mansion where every room shines with beauty. Why would you choose poverty over comfort?" Anna listened politely but answered calmly, "Richard, the world you promise may shine on the outside, but it feels empty inside, because what I want most is not riches, it is respect, care, and the freedom to be myself. With you, I would be like a bird in a golden cage, admired by others but trapped without joy." Richard frowned and left in anger, while David, hearing about these visits, said gently, "Anna, if ever you feel regret, know that I will understand, for I cannot give you the life he offers, but I will always give you my heart." Anna smiled and replied, "David, do not doubt me. I did not choose you because of what you own or do not own. I chose you because when I am with you, I feel peace, and when I am away from you, I miss your kindness. That feeling is worth more than gold." In time, their marriage was celebrated in a small but warm ceremony, where friends and neighbors gathered, bringing flowers, homemade food, and cheerful songs. There were no diamonds or luxurious decorations, but there was genuine happiness, and everyone who attended could see the love shining in Anna's eyes as she walked beside David. Years passed, and though life was not without struggles, they sometimes worried about money, sometimes faced illness, and sometimes worked long hours. They always faced these trials together, never blaming one another, but supporting each other with patience and trust. On quiet evenings, they sat by the window with cups of tea, reading stories to each other, and Anna often thought to herself that she had made the best choice of her life, because though her home was small, her heart was full. As the years passed, Anna and David's life was not always easy, but it was always filled with warmth. Their little house stood on the edge of town, with a small garden where David grew vegetables and Anna planted flowers that she often brought inside to brighten the rooms. Though the furniture was old and the walls sometimes needed repair, the house carried laughter, love, and comfort that no amount of money could ever replace. One day, a friend of Anna's, named Clara, came to visit. Clara had married a wealthy man, and she often wore fine dresses and shiny jewelry. She looked around Anna's simple home and said, half kindly and half with pity, "Anna, you could have had so much more. Do you never feel sad when you see how small your home is compared to mine?" Anna smiled gently and answered, "Clara, when I look at my home, I see love in every corner. The walls remind me of evenings spent reading together, the garden reminds me of mornings filled with laughter, and every little thing here carries a memory. I do not need a large house to feel rich, because my heart is already full." Clara was silent for a moment, surprised by Anna's words. She had everything money could buy, yet sometimes she felt lonely in her grand house, where her husband was too busy with business to sit with her. For the first time, she wondered if Anna had made the wiser choice. Meanwhile, Richard had grown even wealthier, yet inside he felt a strange emptiness. He often attended grand parties and traveled across countries, but no matter where he went, he could not escape the feeling that something important was missing. One evening, while sitting alone in his luxurious mansion, he thought of Anna and realized that money had given him power but not happiness. One afternoon, Richard unexpectedly visited the school where David taught. He watched David teaching children with patience and joy, telling them stories, answering their questions, and treating each child with kindness. For the first time, Richard felt a small sting of regret. He realized that David, though poor in wealth, was rich in love, respect, and purpose. Later, when Richard saw Anna passing by with groceries in her hand, he stopped her politely. "Anna," he said softly, "I used to believe that money was everything, but now I see that perhaps I was wrong. You chose wisely, for I see happiness in your eyes, and I can see that David gives you what I could never give, real love." Anna smiled kindly and replied, "Richard, money is not evil, but it is not enough. What people need most is to be loved and respected, to feel safe and valued. I hope you find that one day, because everyone deserves it." Richard nodded slowly, and though his pride was hurt, he felt strangely lighter after hearing her words. As the years continued, Anna and David built not only a happy marriage but also a life that touched others. Anna opened a small reading club for children at the bookstore, teaching them the joy of stories, while David became known in the town as a teacher who cared deeply for his students. Whenever people asked Anna if she regretted not marrying Richard, she would laugh softly and answer, "Regret? Never. My life may not be filled with gold, but it is filled with love, and that is the greatest treasure of all." And so, Anna's story became a quiet lesson for everyone in the town, that sometimes the world tells us to value wealth above all things, but true happiness is found in the simple and honest love we share with another heart. The seasons changed, and with each passing year, Anna and David grew stronger together. Their life was simple, but it was filled with moments that became treasures of the heart. Every morning, David walked to the school carrying his books, and Anna opened the bookstore with her usual smile. In the evenings, they would share dinner, talk about their day, and sometimes read aloud to each other by the fire. One winter evening, when snow fell softly outside, Anna asked, "David, do you ever wish we had more money, more comfort, more things that other people have?" David looked at her and said with a gentle smile, "Anna, sometimes I think about it, but then I see you smiling at me across the table, I hear your laughter in our home, and I feel your hand in mine. What could money add to that? Comfort may come from wealth, but happiness comes from love." Anna's eyes filled with tears of joy, and she whispered, "That is why I chose you. I knew you would never make me feel alone." But life was not without challenges. There were times when bills were difficult to pay, when sickness came into their home, or when the future looked uncertain. Yet in those moments, instead of blaming each other, they worked together, comforting one another with patience and strength. One spring, the roof of their house began to leak after heavy rains. Neighbors whispered, if Anna had married Richard, she would be living in a grand mansion without these problems. But Anna only smiled as she and David climbed onto the roof together to repair it, laughing as the rain fell on their faces. To her, that moment of teamwork and joy meant more than any mansion ever could. Meanwhile, Clara, Anna's wealthy friend, began to feel the weight of her own choices. Though her house was filled with expensive furniture and sparkling jewels, her husband was often away, too busy with his business to spend time with her. She visited Anna one afternoon, looked around the cozy little home, and said quietly, "Anna, I have riches, but I am often lonely. You have so little, yet you seem to have everything that matters." Anna took Clara's hand and replied, "Clara, love is the true wealth. A golden palace is empty without laughter, and a small cottage is full of light when love lives inside it." Clara's eyes softened, and she carried those words in her heart. Years later, Richard, now older and even richer, returned to town. He had built companies, traveled across oceans, and bought everything money could buy, but he still carried an emptiness inside. When he saw Anna and David walking hand in hand through the marketplace, he stopped them. "Anna," he said slowly, his voice softer than she had ever heard it, "I once thought I could give you the world. But today, when I look at you, I realize you already have the world. You made the right choice. You chose happiness over wealth, and I respect you for that." Anna answered kindly, "Richard, wealth is not wrong, but without love, it feels incomplete. I hope one day you find someone who can give you the joy that money cannot." Richard nodded and walked away, carrying her words like a mirror that reflected the truth he had been avoiding all his life. As the years turned into decades, Anna and David grew old together. Their hair turned gray, and their steps became slower, but their love remained as strong as ever. On quiet evenings, they would sit outside their home, watching the sun set over the hills, holding hands in silence, a silence filled with peace and understanding. One evening, as the sky turned golden, Anna said softly, "David, people once thought I was foolish for choosing you over riches. But now, after all these years, I know without doubt that I made the wisest decision of my life." David smiled, squeezed her hand, and whispered, "And I have been the luckiest man, Anna, because you chose me." Their story became a lesson in the town, told to children by parents and teachers. People would say, "Do you see Anna and David? They are proof that love is greater than gold, and kindness is stronger than wealth." And so, Anna's life showed the world that though money may shine brightly, it is love that truly lights the heart and makes life worth living. Sparkle's final moral of the story: love is the greatest treasure. Money may buy comfort, but only love can give true happiness, peace, and a life full of meaning.